the way he says it, my body was fully engaged.
I was literally
Every cell.
I don't even know how to describe what my body was going through in that moment.
Full body shivers. Welcome back to Romancing the Monsters. I'm Em.
Hi, I'm S.
I'm Seth.
And you are officially welcomed to a very anticipated episode, and by very anticipated, I mean us three. Our Bridgerton discussion, Bridgerton Season 2 discussion, Part 1, episodes 1 through 4. So you have to stay tuned for the second part of this, which will be episodes 5 to 8. Yeah. I can't count. This is your friendly reminder. If you enjoy the content we have for you today, please feel free to share it online on your own social media pages. It's a small contribution, but it really does help and make a difference for us. So yeah, if you like it, share it with your friends who also love Bridgertons who also love Bridgerton. Now, before we get into the episodes, how did you guys like Bridgerton Season 2? Overall thoughts?
Also, we should mention there will be a lot of spoilers in this discussion.
Oh yeah, spoilers abound. This is like a spoilery discussion. And also, another fair warning, this will probably be very long, so now's the time to do something else as you're listening.
Yeah.
The chores, go on a walk, I don't know, but yeah, this is probably going to be very long. So yeah, overall thoughts. Who wants to start? Silence.
I want to hear Seth's thoughts because...
Yeah, okay, let's go with Seth. Yeah.
It's hard because...
No, it's not hard because I know exactly what you're going to say.
I love the book, but the show was different, like way different than what the book was. And there were aspects of it that I won't get into because it's not until later on in the show that I didn't enjoy. But more or less, I just feel like Jonathan Bailey and Simone Ashley stole the show, and they embodied Kate and Anthony to a point where like I'm like obsessed with them. And they're my main takeaway from that show. So I enjoyed it as a show itself, but like besides that, if I had to like look at the book and look at the show, I'd be like, ugh.
Yeah. S, do you want to follow up?
Yes.
She's like, no, bye guys.
No,
the end.
So for me, I think it's a little bit like the opposite from Seth, where I read the book and I wasn't really a fan.
Yeah.
True.
Where now with the show, like I'm obsessed. Like
really?
Like obsessed. Like to the point where I think up until like episode 3 and up, like I was like either like in tears or laughing or even just in tears at like how beautiful everything was.
Why do you always have to be not like the other girls? Huh? You always have to be the different one.
Shut up. But no, like I love the show, like, and I think I want to compare a little bit like with the first season and this one. Like I think this season was like it went beyond. Yeah, it was my favorite for sure.
Okay. Me being like an intense fan of the book, I will even agree with that statement. I felt like this season went above and beyond from season 1, if we had to compare seasons, but they're two different things.
This is a good jumping off point just to remind everyone that we also did this for season 1. So we also have 2 episodes on season 1 if you want to go and listen to that as well. And we did read The Viscount Who Loved Me for the podcast, so we also have that up on our page if you want to check that out. See our thoughts on the book, and then maybe our thoughts on this season. Yeah. My opinion.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. This might be long. So... I'm obviously a fan of the book. Love the book so much. I love it for the banter. I think whenever I read that book, my main takeaway for me is always the banter, and how lighthearted and fun it is as a read. So going into this season, I think it's hard because after my initial viewing, I was left not disliking it, but also not loving it. And I was like, I really love everything that's Kate and Anthony here. I do. And I think it took some time, like a couple hours after finishing the season, for me to grapple with the fact that there were changes here. But also recognize that I do think the essence of who Kate and Anthony are together is here.
Yes.
And the banter that I love so much in the book is here. But the lightheartedness is not necessarily. Yeah. And I think I've come to terms with the fact that I'm okay with that. Like, I'm kind of good at separating. When I realize that two things are very different, I'm kind of good at separating them in my own brain and taking them as they are for what they are. So I love everything Kate and Anthony here, but I just don't think the rest is good.
Me either.
I don't think the rest is necessary. This season to me felt like the Featheringtons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the Bridgertons. It made me dislike that whole family, including Penelope, which is sad because I love her as a character, but I was like, Penelope, why are you here? I don't care right now. Yeah. I just want to go back to Kate and Anthony, and I consistently wanted to go back to them, you know? Like, every scene that wasn't with them, I was like, why are we here? Like, I just want to go back to whatever was going on in that office or that library or on that field, you know? Like, why are we here? And to the point where I wanted to skip parts, you know, in my initial viewing, which is not good, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't do it. I stopped myself from doing that, but then I took a moment of pause, realized all those things and why I was feeling the way that I was feeling, and I started viewing it again. I started a second watch. I've only seen episodes 1 to 4 as of now because I wanted to make my, take my notes for this episode, but I'm only watching the Bridgerton bits. I'm skipping everything else, and already my experience with this season is like 10 times better because now I'm seeing the threads. Their story is so, like, constantly interrupted with other stuff that the pace feels weird.
Yeah.
But if you're only watching the Bridgerton bits, which if you're feeling kind of about the season, I highly recommend you do that because then you see, okay, this is what they're going for, you know? And it's making me enjoy the angstiness of Kate and Anthony here a lot more, especially now that I know what's coming, which we can discuss certain changes, as we get to them. Yeah. But I think this second viewing is helping me be like, yeah, so this is what they're going for, and like now I'm feeling the angst. Now I'm feeling the like, oh my god.
So you didn't feel the angst the first time around?
Yes, but I think it was overshadowed by my own shock at just how far they took certain things that I really wasn't expecting them to take it that far. Yeah. Unfortunately, another criticism for me, I did not like Edwina here, and I'm really sad about that because Edwina was a great character in the book. I don't like her, but that doesn't mean that I don't understand why they did what they did with her character and like why they chose to add so much drama surrounding her character.
It's Shondaland. Shonda Rhimes.
Exactly. Like they wanted to make it angstier, and that's fine. I understand that, but at the same time, I can also say I'm a little sad that this is what happened with Edwina because I did not like her here at all. So, yeah, do I have anything else? The music. Hated.
I love the music.
Well, listen. I mean, I said it in the first season. I do not like the, like, classical rendition of modern music. Okay. I dislike that stuff because I find it very, very distracting. And I also find it sad because Chris Bowers, who is the composer for the original music for the show, is so amazing, and his score for the first season was just so grand and romantic, and like it just captured perfectly the emotions of that season. And whenever his score would play, you're like, oh my god, this is great. Here, I feel like it was completely overshadowed by all the, classical renditions of modern music, to the point where you don't even realize when his score is actually there, and when it is, you barely hear it. Like, there's no emphasis on that. And then on top of that, my real gripe with the score here is that whenever Kate and Anthony, or for most of their like really important scenes, it's a fucking rendition and not original score. Like, they don't have, it seems, like a one piece of music that's the Kate and Anthony theme, whereas like you think of We Could Form an Attachment for season 1, you're like, you hear that, you're like, Simon and Daphne, that's like their theme, their love theme. Here, I like, where's the love theme? I wouldn't be able to pinpoint just off of hearing a theme playing, oh yeah, that's that scene, and that's what that means for those characters, and you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like it wasn't as clear.
I mean, to be fair, like, I feel like the I Love You, I don't know if it's called I Love You, but I feel like that like really embodied Anthony and Kate. Like, I really liked that piece of music. I know that's like episode 8, but I mean,
no, I like, if you listen to the score itself, it's very good. My gripe is that it's not emphasized in the show.
Oh,
like,
okay, I agree with
enough.
that. Yeah.
But with, like, for sure, go and listen to them. He created amazing pieces of music for this season. Yeah. You just don't hear them, which is sad.
Yeah. Okay.
But you do hear, like, Material Girl, and you do hear, like, Stay Away, and You Oughta Know, and, like, you do hear those. You can't miss them. They're so obvious, which is I don't like how obvious they are. I think there's, like, you have to find a balance with that. But, anyways, the rest, I guess I'll get to eventually. How did you feel about Kate and Anthony separately?
I love them
as characters here.
They were honestly amazing. Their character development, I feel like this season really focused on developing these characters and empathizing with these characters and actually understanding these characters, which I'm not comparing to season 1, but I feel like I didn't feel that with season 1. And I don't know if it's just like the writing. They really focused on the characters in this season, and I really appreciated that. I loved Kate and I loved Anthony, separately as well as together.
Yeah, I think they did a fantastic, like, Jonathan Bailey did a fantastic job with Anthony at bringing so much emotion to the character and so much complexity to the character. I cannot overstate, like, how incredible it is to see a male character like Anthony cry on screen and like actually live his emotions. And it's like, not it doesn't like undermine him, it doesn't like, you don't pity him, you feel for him, like it's so beautiful and like shocking to see a man like that break down, because you never see that in TV or in movies, because it's just like, men, quote unquote, aren't supposed to do that, So that's the beauty of the female gaze here.
I agree.
Turned on to men.
And I also find it like really funny, because I remember when season 1 was over and they announced that it's Anthony's season, everyone's like, ew, why would we want like this sexist, disgusting man as like, the hero of season 2? But like, I feel like people who said that post season 1 or like, and post season 2 now, they're like, oh my gosh, he's amazing. So I feel like just the idea that like he went through this big grand character arc and like evoked all these emotions with the viewers, like a commendment to like how amazing Jonathan is as an actor.
But why should we dismiss that character? Why, like, look what happens when you actually give the space for someone like that to actually process his emotions and his own misogyny, internalized misogyny.
And also to see his perspective as well.
Yeah. Obviously, like, they did change certain things about his character. Like, the whole reason for his trauma is not explained here. Like, the whole, like, I will die when I'm, 39, 38, 39? No, he's 38.
Oh, that's right. I completely missed that.
I have a small theory. I feel like because Simone and Jonathan are actually coming back for season 3, I feel like they'll delve more into, like, their married like problems. So I'm hoping maybe like he might make a throw off comment about like, yeah, like I'm not gonna be here for blah 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 blah, and I hope maybe they'll have their own drama because they are coming back. So
I need them to be back because I didn't get enough of them here.
But they both confirmed that they're actually back 3 and 4, they're in it. So I'm hoping that we actually explore some issues in your marriage that maybe we obviously didn't get to see.
In a way that makes sense, because Simon and Daphne, it didn't make sense because A, they're not that much in the books, but also Simon, once Daphne marries him, she kind of leaves the family, you know, she starts her own family separate from the Bridgertons, you know, but here Anthony is, and with Kate, they become the pillars of this family. Like, they are so present in the series. So to me, if there's any story that can continue on and that I'll be happy to see continue on and you know, get more and more complicated and, you know, see them go through highs and lows together, it's them, because they are the pillars here of this family. So I'm really crossing my fingers that they do that they give them more space, especially because like everyone else on the internet, we're all mad that we got like 9 minutes of them being happy and married. So
I know. But my sister, like, she loves the drama. She's like, what in case season 3, one of their issues is going to be Sienna? What in case she comes in? And I'm like, oh,
Sienna.
I can see...
he burned that bitch. He burned
her, right? But then I'm like, I can see Shonda Rhimes, like, bringing her in just to, like, cause, like, you know, some issues. But, yeah. Anyways, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
But lastly, I just want to say something about Kate. I love Kate. I love her fierceness. I love her strong-mindedness. I love how loud she is as a woman. I love how opinionated she is as a woman. I will say, though, I did miss her vulnerability here. You know, what makes Kate great is that, yeah, she has this front where she's strong and, you know, everything I just said, yet she also has these moments where she's vulnerable and she's actually not that confident and etc. etc. This wasn't here. I feel like they obviously gave more space to Anthony to be more, you know, complex because he's the Bridgerton, but I do think if you had 8 hours, over 8 hours of content here, so you could have done away with some of the fluff, you know, nonsense that's happening in the background and given more space for Kate to actually have the trauma that she's supposed to have and, you know, be a little vulnerable. I will say, though, Simone Ashley is amazing, and again, it's a testament to her own acting that despite there being like this vulnerable side of Kate not being outright explored here, you still feel it. So, you know, good on her for that. But I do wish we had seen a little bit more of that side of Kate, because
I agree.
It's important.
Because, yeah, a lot of her fierceness is like as a facade, because she is dealing with a lot of trauma and a lot of her own issues in the book that I kind of hope that we did see. You're right.
Do you have anything to add on Kate and Anthony as characters?
I love them. Absolutely. For Anthony, for sure, I really disliked him in season 1.
Yeah.
So,
and also in the book.
In the book as well, I didn't like him.
You did warm up to him towards the end, though. I remember that.
But that was
I remember
30% towards the end. Where is that enough? Is it?
I mean, if he redeems himself, he redeems himself.
Yeah. But in the show, it was completely different. Like, I freaking loved him. For Kate as well. So everything that Steph said, like, I agree. Like, with the way he changed and the way they showed him being vulnerable as well. Oh, I love him. He's great.
Yeah. He has so many great moments here. So many.
And it's just, like, Jonathan's acting. I don't know, like, the smallest little movement of him, like, that he makes, it's so like intentional, and like you just
or the intonation in his voice sometimes. Like, he's got like a couple scenes where his voice, it doesn't crack fully, but there's just like a little, like, I mean, I'm thinking of one scene in particular, so I'll talk about it when we get to it, but just the delivery of certain lines, I'm like, oh, this is so good.
It's so great. And it's like whenever he gets like over emotional, like Anthony obviously has like a tight lid on his emotions, but when he can't he's like so emotional about certain things, his voice gets quiet and he starts whispering, like he fears his voice will crack or something. Like he just whispers it. And I'm like, holy Jesus. Yeah.
I love that they made him like so. I think Jonathan Bailey describes it as animalistic here. Like how he's so in tune to her smell. Like, I don't know where they got that, but I'm into it.
The amount of times he sniffed her and he literally almost like came from her scent.
Literally, like, anyways.
We're getting ahead of ourselves, guys.
Moments.
I'm sorry.
I know, but then like you're rewatching it, and I'm discovering new places where he's actually smelling her again.
Yeah,
I'm like, boy, can you stop? Like, you need to. This makes me think of Lillian and Marcus.
Yeah, I got serious Westcliff and Lillian
Marcus
vibes
and Lillian.
in this
season.
Yeah. And
agreed.
Sorry, Westcliff and Lillian from Lisa Clay Pass's Wallflower series.
It happened when autumn.
Yes.
Yeah. But also like major Pride and Prejudice vibes.
Yeah.
They Pride and Prejudice-ified the Viscount who loved
Yes.
me.
The hands, everything like this, they really did their homework on this season. Like they did their homework. They knew what they wanted to include and they did it. The hands, the looks of longing.
This is not the Viscount who loved me, but it is Kate and Anthony.
Yes. It's like fanfic for Kate and Anthony.
Yeah, you just have to be willing to let that go.
Yeah.
I'm willing to let it go.
I am too.
Once you do, you actually enjoy what's going on so much more.
Yeah. I will say I've literally watched all the fan videos out there already. I've literally watched all the interviews out there. I literally watched everything about them. I'm obsessed.
All right. So, let's start 22 minutes in. Episode 1, Capital R Rake.
Yes.
I can't say it like Julie Andrews. Capital R Rake.
Yes, say it.
No, I can't.
I can't roll my R's.
All right, Seth.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us briefly what happens in this episode?
Sure.
How it starts?
So basically, this episode starts off with the Bridgertons, and we see Eloise. She's getting ready to be presented to the Queen, where it's the whole, process of the Queen announcing her diamond. And we know from last season, she hates all of this. She hates being primed up, and but she has to do it anyway. She's being presented for this season. We also have Anthony, who has declared he's ready to find a wife this season, and he only wants the best for himself. And what does he want, guys?
Tolerable, dutiful, suitable enough hips for childbearing, and at least half a brain. But that's only a preference, not a requirement.
What a dig!
I love it.
Yeah.
That was so great. And I love how Benedict and Gregory are like, all right.
Benedict! I fucking loved Benedict in this season.
He was a scene
right
stealer.
From the get-go, he's like, how romantic.
And the boy who played Gregory grew up so much, but he's still so adorable. His little dimple.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. We also know Lady Whistledown hasn't written a gossip paper this whole season, but as Eloise is being presented, a new issue arrives, interrupting her presentation to the Queen Charlotte. And we know Queen Charlotte is all about, revealing and finding out who Lady Whistledown is. But as viewers, we already know that that's Penelope, Featherington. And what happens next is that we are introduced to the Sharmas, who had just arrived from India to London, and that's a lie. We don't get introduced to them yet. We see Anthony on a ride.
True.
Yeah, we see Anthony on a ride back from a brothel. He's going back home early morning. He comes across this woman who's riding this horse like pretty quickly, and he's like, oh my gosh, is she gonna die? But then he sees her face, and they have words. They start bantering. She should not be out there. He does not know who she is. She won't even tell him her name or anything like that.
And she's trying to get to Mayfair, and he's like, girl, you ain't getting to Mayfair that way.
No. So she obviously goes in the direction he says, and he's left smiling and like beguiled by this mysterious woman. And then we find out she's Miss Kate Sharma, who is a daughter of Mary Sharma, and she has a sister named Edwina, and they're here for the season, and they're being sponsored by Lady Danbury. And Kate is all about her sister finding a husband, not herself, but her sister needs to marry well and have a good match. And she's done all of her homework. She knows what needs to get done. She taught her sister well. And they're introduced at a ball. And Kate is looking for potential suitors, like I said, for her sister when she sees a man. She sees the
You're
man from the forest.
Saying everything that happens.
I'm skipping all the Featheringtons and everyone else.
Oh yeah, we're totally skipping all of that. I do not care.
Anyways, yeah, so that's like, I did not finish the episode description, but whatever.
I mean, you did say a lot.
Okay.
So there's a lot in what you said that we can discuss.
Yeah.
First off, how funny was it, Anthony doing his interviews? How much of an ass is he?
His interviews. I love his question.
It's literally like a job interview. Like, these ladies are like, what the actual
That's
hell?
exactly what I was saying when I was watching it. I'm like, is he interviewing these people for a job? Like, what's going on?
Well, basically.
I love it. And then we get that amazing shot of his buttocks.
His butt was great. Can bounce a coin on that.
And that's like 15 minutes in. But, like, I will tell you, that's basically the only time we see his ass, unfortunately.
I know.
That we get, like, some eye candy in this first episode of, you know, Jonathan Bailey's amazing physique. Yes. But then never again.
I know.
I'm a little disheartened by that. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I am too. If
he's gonna look like that, like, give me a scene where, like, she stumbles upon him, like, bare-chested or something, please.
Yeah.
Like, look at the man. Anyways, the first meeting. A big change, is it not? How do we feel about this alternate meeting? Meet cute.
What was the meet cute in the book again?
They meet at a ball, and then Colin meets Kate first, and she's like, I fucking hate that dude. He's like, haha, that's actually my brother. And then Colin goes to Anthony. He's like, oh,
yes.
This girl has been raving about you. Why don't you go ask her to dance? And he does, and he thinks that she's, like, a super fan, and turns out Kate just, like, gives him shite. So
I completely forgot everything, like, from the book.
Actually, what do you think about their meeting?
Like, when they're meeting when they're riding the horses?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was great. I thought it was a good meeting. It was a good first impression, I guess you can say. I don't remember how they met in the book. You just explained it, but I didn't remember.
Yeah.
But no, I thought it was great.
I agree. I think this meeting was, like, really well done in the sense where, like, I loved that after that point they both were kind of like, who is this person? I'm kind of interested, kind of not. But then, like, you actually see Kate's blinders come on and she's like, never mind, I hate you. After, like, she overheard him talking to his friends. And I loved that. I thought, like, she just, like, she had a reason to dislike him and dislike him immensely.
But that she specifically started out liking him or being intrigued, and then he killed it. So he messed up.
Yeah,
but
I loved that.
I do like the change because I actually think it works well in the show where their first meeting already starts out. They're like this thing that they got going that nobody else is aware of. Like, already it's like this secretive kind of forbidden, like, oh no, I don't go out riding you know, at hours that I shouldn't go out writing at, or, you know, I didn't meet this man already, you know, or, you know what I mean? Like, it already kickstarts this whole thing where it's like, ooh, what we do in the dark that nobody knows about. So I do like the change, and, like, it does show their, like, playfulness together, and I like that they started out friends, and then he messed up, and from then on, she's like, you're actually an asshole.
Yeah. I loved it. I really liked their change in the first meeting.
I also like that, and this is a change that I actually appreciate. I like how Lady Danbury and Kate are kind of going head to head. Like, they're not seeing eye to eye at the beginning. No. I like to see someone challenge Lady Danbury like that, and you see how headstrong Kate is, that she's taking on someone like her, and Lady Danbury is a little shook. You know, she's a little shook by the fact that Kate is being so headstrong about things and came prepared and in charge. So I do like their dynamic together. Yeah,
throughout the whole season I really liked their dynamic, and also just Lady Danbury, like, she was amazing this season. I loved her, and I loved her also, like, with Anthony as well. I know I'm getting off topic going ahead, but, like, I just really enjoyed her character.
How do we feel about the whole Sheffield agreement scheme thing for Edwina's dowry? it's introduced in this episode.
I thought it was interesting. I also like that we had a little nod to the Sheffields.
Yeah.
Because we know Kate Sheffield was her original name in the book.
Yeah.
I feel like it made me empathize with Kate so much because you see like what she's struggling with and you actually understand like how heavy this burden is at that point. And I'm like, Kate, girl, you're 26. Why are you dealing with all of this? Your mom is right there. Let your mom deal with it. But no, she looks so heavy, you know? And like I like that you actually realize why she felt that way or why she appeared that way.
But it's also so sad to see her so ready to give up on herself, her dreams, her own shot at happiness.
Yeah.
Like she's fully prepared to let that go. I don't know, it's sad and bittersweet, I guess, but you also obviously understand and it shows you just how much she loves her sister, and she's kind of acting like a mom, which now that I think about it is an interesting dynamic because it's not like Edwina doesn't have a mom. She does. So it's interesting to me why Kate is filling those shoes. I never thought about it that much, but I guess like seeing it on screen kind of brought that to light for me. Like, why is she acting like Edwina's mom so much when Edwina has a mom? She doesn't need a second mom.
Yeah. But to be honest, like I can kind of see it in the way that like at least like I can say in my family and like where like my family's from, just the idea of like, you know, you being like the daughter of like another woman's, you know, you're another woman's child, and like, you know, your father married this other woman, you kind of feel like you don't have a place. Like a society tells you like, why are you raising this random child that's not your own, like type thing. And it's like I can see her like maybe she internalized that, or maybe that's something she experienced as well, that she in India, maybe that was something that she was like, she even said it, she felt like she had to earn her place. But like I think it was just more so like Edwina was like all their bets were on her for like, you know, she was the one that needed to be successful, because Kate felt like, you know, she came from somewhere else, like she's not, I don't know, I just like I understood where Kate was coming from, and it was just like heartbreaking to see her in that light.
Yeah. I did see a couple people online say that as older child, like the older child in a family, they resonated with that a lot. I'm the youngest of three, so I it's not really a position that I relate to because it's never been me.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it is something to note, I guess, for people out there who are the older child. Maybe they very much relate to that feeling of needing to be the first to do everything and you know, pass your knowledge on to your brothers and sisters, and act as like the protector, you know, because if your parents die, it's you.
Yeah. And
I mean, case in point, Anthony Bridgerton.
Yeah.
So,
but I don't know, like maybe Mary was really grieving at that point when like the father died, and maybe she was like Violet, not present, and it fell to Kate to take care of her younger sister, and she probably took that all throughout their adulthood. Sorry, that scene where the truth came out about the Sheffield inheritance, that was a scene where she tells Lady Danbury that she could just, you know, live her life like Lady Danbury, or was that later on?
No, that's later on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question before we move on. Are Kate and Edwina half sisters in the book as well?
Yeah.
Okay, because I didn't remember, and I wasn't too sure if that changed in the show.
I believe that Kate's trauma with storms, did it not originate from the death of her mother?
It did. She witnessed her mom die on like a very like stormy night.
Yeah, she was super sick, and
and the lightning. I remember it so vividly. Like the lightning shone as like her mom like her body. She was already dead, but like it like I guess like was it rigor mortis caused her body to like
a ghost.
To like sit up. And the lightning shone, and like she was just traumatized as a child seeing her mother. Like her mother's body do that.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, so they share the same father, but not the same mother.
Yeah.
So there's also like the scene that we've seen countless times before. The one scene that the first look that they shared of Anthony at the ball, who's all giddy to find the woman that he first meets in the woods, horse riding, and then she's like, "Your horsemanship is shit." You're an ass.
And the only thing this man focused on that she said is that she found her smile pleasing. And he's like,
smile.
damn, she found my smile pleasing.
Yeah. And then his smile is truly pleasing when he's in her presence. So, you know.
He's so cute.
And then, I mean, there's not much to say about that scene. I feel like we've been sitting on it for like months. So, but the episode ends with Kate and Anthony being properly, officially introduced to each other.
Yeah.
Was it annoying to you that whenever Kate was introduced, it was Miss Sharma and Miss Edwina Sharma? I was like, why does my Kate not have a name? Why doesn't she have a name?
Yeah, I didn't get that either. Is it because she's the eldest? She's like Miss Sharma, but then we have to specify Miss Edwina Sharma because she's the youngest.
Oh, maybe. I'm sure there's like a custom thing attached to that, like an etiquette thing of the time. Like they did it for a reason, but I was kind of wondering if it's because she's maybe a spinster and therefore kind of older-fied by the fact that she's just Miss Sharma. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm inventing words.
How old is Edwina in the show? I don't know.
They aged her because I think she's 19.
Yeah,
19 in the show. And then in the book? Well, like 16?
I think she's 17 in the book.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. And then Kate is like 20 in the book, but then they made her 26 here, which that line when Lady Denbury's like, you're going to be considered old at your mature age of, and she's like 6 and 20, and like, ouch.
I know, I was like, damn, I'm turning 27, and I'm going to be like Charlotte from Pride and Prejudice, and I'm going to be like, I have no prospects. I live with my parents. I have no prospect. What was the rest of it?
I have no money or no prospects, no.
Yeah, I'm literally going to be Charlotte in 2 weeks.
Like, what do you want me to do? I'm going to marry the ugly-ass guy that everyone is annoyed by. Yeah, they're introduced. And then Anthony is like, that's it. I'm a wife up Edwina over there.
What? No, it was this episode where she gets declared the diamond, right?
Yeah. She gets declared the diamond. Then Anthony sees her for the first time. He's like, oh my god, literally like pushes everyone out of the way, basically. And then the queen sees him. She's like, oh my god, Anthony Bridgerton. And then they dance. And then afterwards, he's talking to Violet, and he's like, I'm gonna marry her.
Yeah.
And Kate is telling Edwina, like, never talk to that man ever again. And that is the end of episode 1. So that brings us...
Hold on, before we get to episode 2, I just wanted to talk about, like, how was it seeing, like, the Bridgerton family again on screen? Like, how did you feel about seeing them
amazing.
Again?
Yeah. It was great seeing them.
I loved them. And I also loved that Daphne was there. We did not talk about Daphne at all yet. But
not yet. Well, but she's not there yet.
Yeah, she was in the first episode.
I thought she arrives at Aubrey Hall with her baby. That's the first time we see her.
No, her first time was when they're all waiting for Eloise.
Oh, right. Eloise is... Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true. I love Daphne in this season. I really do.
I loved her. Like, I did not like her in the first season, and then even in their book, I absolutely despised her so much. But she really shone in this season. I loved her character.
I loved her in the first season, but I love her here even more. I think motherhood really, truly does suit her, and I love how meddlesome she becomes and how she's, like, seeing things that nobody else is seeing, right? And she's like, are y'all kidding me? Like, is nobody seeing what's going on here?
She was hilarious. And Phoebe, who plays Daphne, amazing. And I love that she finally, I know season 1 was her season, but I felt like she was overshadowed by reggae. And I feel like in this season, she was allowed to shine and, like, take center stage at points. I just really felt like she was amazing.
I also really loved Eloise. Like, here it's just so funny. Like, I mean, I'm literally going back to the first scene, but, like, when she comes out looking amazing and she's like, if any of you says anything, I was like, that is the most relatable scene I've ever seen as someone with siblings.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but then it's also like they know she hates it, so they would probably like make fun of her.
Yeah. Or when she has her dancing card and she's like putting names like Byron and stuff on
and her mom's like, what the heck? I love her.
So episode 2, Off to the Races, which coincidentally is the name of one of my favorite songs of all time. Off to the Races, Lana Del Rey. Go have a listen. Bless thy ears.
Good song.
Oh, you know it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Amazing song. If you like the daddy vibes, but like in music, there you go. Anyways, what happens in this episode, Seth?
All right. So Miss Edwina.
I say Edwina.
Edwina.
Yeah.
They say Edwina in the show. Is now the diamond, and men are lining up to court her. So Kate is very busy evaluating each and every one of these men. And Anthony comes calling, and there's a literal line up through the door, probably. And she's like, back of the line, bitch. Back of the line. And
well, they're all back of the line, too.
It was just, so that was great. And then we also have Colin Bridgerton returning from Greece. Penelope, of course, is overjoyed to see the man that she's been writing to back and forth for the whole season is back. And their friendship has also developed through those letters. And we know her feelings have also deepened. Don't care about the Featheringtons. Moving on. Everyone's at the races. The ascot is in full swing, and Kate is introduced to a man named Mr. Dorset, who seemed to have taken an interest in her.
Indeed, because Mr. Anthony Bridgerton was going to invite Edwina to the races, but Kate was like, she's booked and busy.
Yes. Yeah.
You can try in December when she's married.
Kate.
I love his smile, and he laughs, like his fake laugh,
I know.
angry laugh. And then she shuts the door in his face.
Love it.
And he just stands there and looks to the side to the other suitors, and he leaves. I love it. And then he goes to his family and he's like, we're all going. I don't care what y'all doing today. We're going.
Yeah, we are going. It is happening. And you see, I love that he just, he's so calculating when he's like, yeah, my whole family's going. Edwina is going to really like seeing, me with, as a family man. So we're all going to laugh and, be a part of this. So you guys are all coming. And, so they're all there. And Edwina is spending time with another suitor until Anthony kind of, sends him away to go get drinks and, literally, squeezes himself in between Kate and Edwina. And I was rolling.
I love that instead of going to the side where he could have just, not disrupted anyone, he literally goes between two people. He's, pushing them to the side, sorry.
Because I feel like maybe he's Kate is gonna maybe sit beside Edwina, so I won't be able to sit beside her. So he's let me just take this moment and just whoop, whoop, whoop. That's what he did.
I love it. And then the Edwina suitor is oh, the Bridgerton are such a good family, and Anthony's just yeah, I know, man. He's just fully agreeing, we're amazing.
And Kate is there on the side trying to get Edwina to notice her suitor again, and he is all pro Bridgerton. I was dying.
Yeah, so they start discussing who they bet on, who's what horse they're betting on, and Kate teaches him the ways, and they're arguing, and I love that Edwina looks to Mr. Dorset, and she's like, should we stop them? And he's like, no, I think that's just how they are. It's fine. It's amiable.
No, it
arguing.
Was literally, she's like, Kate, aren't you feeling a bit warm or something? And then he's
true,
yeah, Kate, let's go this way. And then nope, they're Kate and Anthony are back to bickering and literally gonna jump down each other's throats. Fighting, and of course Kate's horse wins.
I mean, first I love the line where he's he says you think too much about it, because she proved him wrong, and he's like, you think too much about it, and she's like, you too little.
I know.
I love that.
Their bickering was so good. I feel like I ended up laughing a lot throughout it, that I missed some of it because it's just so good. They really got the bickering down in the show.
It's the little moments like that for sure.
Yeah.
And how unhinged they both become during the race. And her horse wins. Yeah. And then Edwina talks about a horse back home that she liked.
Yes.
And Anthony is like, oh.
Yeah. And so Anthony and Edwina go and see this horse that, is on the field. And then Mr. Dorset kind of lets it slip out that Anthony told him to court her, or spend the time, or occupy her time, so that he can spend time with Edwina. And Kate is livid,
furious, because this man keeps playing games, keeps coming up with schemes and lying, and she is not having any of it. And she's like, don't ever come near my sister or me ever again.
And it's a very public display of anger that I was like, is no one else going to be talking about this?
Oh, yeah. This is also the episode where we're introduced to the Eloise Theo thing. I wonder, how do you guys feel about that? I actually really liked it.
Really? I must be the odd one out.
I'm a Philip and Eloise lover. I love them as a couple. I really enjoyed their book. So this is not to say I don't want that, but I was actually really pleased with the Eloise Theo thing. I think it's important to see, especially someone like Eloise, who's always so... She has opinions about love because she's never experienced it in some ways, you know what I mean? Like, she's very, like, strict and, like, you know, doesn't want to change her mind about certain things. So I think it was actually really important to see her kind of experience, like, first love type of thing. Like, nothing that lasts, but actually realizing that love can be for everyone, and you just have to find the person that's for you. And here, Theo, it was like a connection of the minds, you know, like they shared interests, and I love it because it made her go, huh, that's possible.
Yeah, I think the reason why Theo and Eloise was very, like, they were in this, or sorry, that Theo was in this season was for her to actually be open to maybe the idea of love. Like, she is no longer like, no, that's not for me. I don't want to get married. I don't want that. I don't want this.
Yeah. Like, I'll stay alone because if I marry, then I'm, you know, submitting myself to a man type of thing, you know? Like, she realized that that's not necessarily true. It can be an equal thing on both ends.
Yeah, and she's, like, curious about, you know, how, like, Kate was able to stay a spinster and all of that. That, like, I think her being able to see and, like, a side of love, or, like, an aspect of what could be romantic love, really does shed some of her prejudices, but also, like, open herself up to maybe the idea possibly to love.
Yeah.
Wait, is Theo a thing in the books? Or no?
No.
So this
no,
is
he
all...
doesn't exist.
Okay.
Well, I liked the addition. I like seeing this, like, underground kind of world where people discuss opinions that go, you know, against, you know, what's acceptable, and, you know, they're being little radicals together, and I think Eloise kind of fits in really well with that. And obviously her whole relationship with Philip is that Philip allows her to have her space to explore those things, you know, like he's fully accepting of that side of Eloise, and he gives her that space to do whatever she wants. So, yeah.
So do you think that's gonna happen?
I don't know. But they're kind of not going there because, well, we're not with the Marina thing
we're not
yet.
there
so
yet.
We're not there yet. But I'm not seeing them necessarily backing off from that. Okay. You know, it's possible with what they're setting down.
It
could be picked up.
I am, like, the firm believer in they are not allowed to alter the romantic pairings in the books at all. The Bridgertons need to end up with who they end up with, and that's it. So we're not changing who they end up with.
And I have a feeling that that's what they're going for. I guess we'll have to see, but so far with 2 seasons, it looks to me as though their plan is to keep the main relationships as they are, or keep their essence at the very least, but then change everything else.
Yeah, because the Featheringtons, the father never died, right?
The father never dies.
In the books?
The father never dies. Penelope has a younger sister. We never see her. She doesn't exist in this world.
Really?
Heck, even Francesca doesn't exist in this world. Where the heck is she?
I think I only saw her once in this season, right? Like,
she has like one line. She has one line, and it's when Daphne arrives at Aubrey Hall and asks Eloise, like, do you want to hold the baby? That's her one line in the show, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe the actress has, like, other projects, so she's not, like, super available, maybe, but hopefully a little bit more so.
Yeah, I think maybe, like, later on she'll be in more, because if she's gonna get a season, unless she isn't, she's gonna need to have a presence on the show. But maybe she had COVID. Like, maybe she was one of the actresses that had a really bad case.
I also don't foresee them not doing her season the way that it's meant to be, because it's the angstiest book of all of them.
Really?
Is it really?
So then I need to read it then.
Yeah, because it's a season I don't know you would like, Seth, because her husband dies, and then it's unrequited love from his cousin, her dead husband's cousin.
Does she love her husband?
Like that's their love story. Like he loved her from the start, but he never admitted it because his cousin was a great man and she loved him.
Like really loved him.
So then yeah, she really loved him, but no, but there's a beautiful letter.
No.
Heck,
there's a beautiful letter in that book, and like it, yeah.
I honestly feel like they should start her story then. If she's supposed to have a husband that she loved, like they should show.
Well, yeah, she's supposed to be married basically in the next book, so
they should really show her romance then, and like make you actually feel his death, and then you get to her season. And then, like,
they would love that. That's what I'm saying.
What are they doing?
Would love to bring in the character and then kill him off. Like they can't do that because that's not her love interest. Like, cash in on that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, back to episode 2. Off to the races. This is the episode where we have the quote unquote poetry soiree where nobody reads poetry.
The talent show.
Yeah, I literally called it a talent show. I was like, why are we at a talent show right now?
Yeah. And it's so awkward. And Lady Danbury's facial expression
priceless.
Priceless. And Anthony learns about it. He wasn't invited, of course, because Kate had a say in who was invited. So he wasn't. His whole family was, but not him.
Yeah.
And so he goes to find Benedict. And Benedict recites a poem like just like that. And I love that Anthony is literally the embodiment of that meme, that SpongeBob meme where it's like, write that down.
Yeah.
It's like, write that down. And then he leaves and goes to the soiree and reads Benedict's poem. But then halfway through, he can't do it. He can't because he stole it. They're not his words.
He stumbles on the word honor.
Yeah.
As he looks at Kate.
Well, that man is never not looking at Kate.
I know.
Let's get that out of the way.
But I love that it was the word honor that he stumbled on because, like, he's literally lying that this was his poem. And he's just like, oh, shit, I can't lie when I'm looking at her.
But I do love that he seemed to be struggling with public speaking a little. Like there's a couple times in the season when he's proposing or trying to propose, and then here where he kind of stumbles a little bit and he's not like the greatest public speaker, and I love that addition. I love it.
I think that plays a part, but I also feel like for him this scene and also the proposal, it's whenever he looks directly at Kate into her eyes, that
of
he's
course.
like, I can't keep up this facade.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't lie and say this is my poem. I can't lie and propose to Edwina when that's not the woman I want right now, you know?
Yeah. No, of course. Like when emotions are high and like he's unsure of what, he wants and he knows it's the wrong thing to do. But like I just love his little like stumbling over his words and not being like as confident as Anthony Bridgerton, would like to seem.
Yeah.
So yeah. And there's some longing looks, or maybe not longing looks, but there's some like looks across the ballroom between those two.
There's some palpable intense looks. How did you feel about that scene where Anthony goes to Benedict and you got like a little insight into Benedict's mind and like what he's feeling in his heart? Like how did you feel about like, hearing Benedict talk about love in that way and like how he kind of yearns for that type of love?
I feel like he had a lot of those moments this season. A lot of cute, funny, I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna like his season.
Me too. I honestly feel like he stole the show sometimes. Like, yeah.
But I think this is important because this too is working towards establishing things for him, because I think his relationship with Sophie, while yes, it is that like all-encompassing, love that goes beyond the boundaries of society and class and blah blah blah, I think that relationship kind of brings him back to earth, where it's like, well, you're running away from responsibility, but you do have a duty to this woman, and you have to be serious about one thing, and it's this woman. You have to do the right thing here. And I think that's a lesson that he definitely has to learn. And right now he's very much like enjoying life and, partying and not being tethered to anything or anyone really. So I think it's important because then he will be, or he will want to be, but maybe not know how. So
I do find his character arc in this season very interesting in the sense where, like, he kind of voices it, but, like, in a nonchalant way where he's like, what's my purpose? I'm literally, like, the spare heir. Like, I have no purpose. What is my purpose? And he's trying to find that and trying to find himself in all, like, these different directions that he's going. And it's just like, Benedict.
Or I think he does know what his purpose is, but he's scared of acknowledging it or accepting that, like, you can be an artist. If that's what you want to do that, you know, like, that's a thing. I think Colin is more lost as far as, like, what am I supposed to do? I'm the third son in a family. Like, I'm literally useless as far as, like, this family, you know, hierarchy that we got going on. Like, I'm not the spare. I'm, like, the extra spare. Like, you know, true. So and I do think for Colin, at least from my memories of, like, his book, I do think he feels very lost as far as, like, well, what's the point of me? You know, what am I supposed to do? And he does touch upon that here.
I mean, what is the point of you? Even in this show, I don't care. I feel like Colin's character in this season, I'm like, I don't care. I just wanted to maybe it was just me because I wanted to see Kate and Anthony. Like,
no, I care.
Yeah.
I mean, I care. I think he's cute, but he's lost. He's young.
Yeah.
He's so
okay,
young
fine.
still.
He is lost, and he seems to really gravitate towards this idea of Marina and, like, what they could have had. That I'm like, dude, it's the past. Move on.
But I think your perception of him as kind of useless is good because it's his own perception of himself. Yeah. He feels that way, and he started, you know, saying that this season, which he wasn't saying in the first season, but he started saying that out loud now. So I do think that that's in the works of, like, well, what do you do? What are you good for?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the episode where Lady Danbury talks to Kate about what it's like to actually be alone. Because, you know, she kind of, you know, tells Lady Danbury, well, you know, you're my example. Like, aren't you content and happy as a widow? You know, she's an older widowed woman. She's as free as can be in this society. She's her own man. And Kate kind of is like, well, aren't you happy in that situation? And I love that Lady Danbury turns that around and she's like, you're 26 and you are choosing that life. I have loved, I have lost, I've lived through all of that. So now, yes, I am happy in this position and I appreciate the freedoms that it gives me, but you're 26. Like, this is a lonely, you know, place to be in. You're so young. There's so much ahead of you, and yet you're already so ready to give that away because you don't really think you deserve it.
Yeah. I loved that scene. I felt like it was so important because of, like, the way the camera shifted between the two, because Kate kind of sees herself, like, as, you know, like, she could be Lady Danbury, like she said, like, she could live that life, but, like, I love how Lady Danbury looked at her with, like, such confusion, and she's like, I lived a full life, like, there's absolutely no way you can be me, you are not me. And it's just, like, for Kate to, like, see her, like, I even think at that scene, like, her hair was pulled back, she looked like she was, like, an older woman, but then you realize she's only 26, and, like, just that idea that she can live her life alone and, like, can see herself happy the way that Lady Danbury was. And, like, I loved that scene in the sense where Lady Danbury put her in her place and she's like, no, you're not me, you'll never be me, because I had a full life, I lived, I loved, like you said, she had a full life.
The costume design is so good for Kate, especially her hair, how it progressively, you know, gets, like, flirtier, more feminine, you know, it's not so pulled back, so, like, strict, and, you know, as she's kind of discovering her own desires and wants to be desired in return, her hair starts, you know, she has, like, little baby hairs and little, like, you know, hair around her face, and then, like, you know, by the end of the season it's basically halfway down, which, you know, in the epilogue, which we're not there yet, but
even her makeup, it's just, like, I don't know, I feel like they did a really good job of, like, actually showing Kate in her different stages of life and, like, showing her with her different desires for life.
Yeah, it did break me though when she tells Edwina like, "Oh, I'll be a governess and then like I'll dote on your kids, you know, and I'll be the best on," and it broke me because you know that's she wants her own kids, you know? That's like a lovely thing to say if you don't want your own kids and you're just like more than happy to, you know, love someone else's kids, but for her, you know that's not what she wants.
I know.
So that was really sad because, you know, she deserves all the kids and she's gonna have all the kids. So
they have like what? How many kids? 3, 4? 4 kids?
Four. Yeah. All right. So episode 3, a bee in your bonnet. This is I have so many notes for this episode. I was like, this is never ending.
Yeah, that was me too.
So much happens in this episode. Like, Pall Mall, Edmund, the bee sting. So much happens. Aubrey Hall. Anyways, do you want to briefly?
I don't even know where to start.
Okay, well, let's start with the flashback. Okay. Edmund.
Yeah.
The first flashback.
So yeah, this episode had a lot of flashbacks, but the first one is 10 years ago. We see little teenage Anthony, so he's about 18 here. He's hunting with his father, Edmund, and he's clearly like an amazing father, you know, spends time with his son, teaches him how to hunt, teaches him how to like, you know, do things that, you know, a father should. He's giving him advice about life. And then you also see like the pocket watch that Anthony has carried since season 1. And
listen, he holds the pocket watch in the exact same way that Anthony does, and there's a very clear shot showing that, and it broke me.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, because like we know what's coming. Obviously, they talked about it in the first season. If you haven't read the books, you know, like, you know, he's gonna die. And then we see him, you know, sweetly, you know, they're walking back to like the house and they're picking flowers. Edmund sees some flowers, hyacinths, I believe, that he knows his wife Violet would really enjoy. And so he's picking them and he doesn't really notice the bee. But then the bee comes and stings him. At first he's like, oh shoot, like I got stung, but then he slowly starts to not be able to breathe, and
you see Anthony kind of laughing and turning around because he's like, oh haha, and then his father's dying,
and then Violet kind of sees the whole thing happen, and he's like, Edmund's struggling to breathe. I don't know, it's just like so many things going on, and then like he sadly dies in Violet's arms while Anthony watches helplessly.
That was a good change because in the book, if I remember correctly, there's only Anthony present when he dies. I think Violet learns afterwards when Anthony like runs back to the house being like, father died.
No, it was Eloise. It wasn't Anthony.
What do you mean?
Wasn't it Eloise that witnessed the father dying in the book?
No, it's Anthony. Anthony is there watching his father die and he can't cope.
Wasn't it like Anthony goes to the room and like he talks to his father as he's dying, or no? I'm totally imagining that whole thing.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Maybe.
I don't remember. Anyways, this is show. We're talking about show version. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, please know that Edmund Bridgerton was such a good father.
Yeah.
He always wanted his kids, male or female, to have time with him, to spend time with them. He loved them equally. He didn't, you know, spend more time with Anthony just because he was the heir. And also, please know, it's not in the show, but please know that Edmund Bridgerton invented a baby carrier so that he could carry around his babies, okay? But he dies here, and the scene is so well done.
Yes.
The emotion,
so heartbreaking.
The way that Violet is screaming,
and then the kids in the background.
Yeah.
And the kids in the back, and how she tells him like, go, you know, like she's screaming like, go, and Anthony's face.
Oh, makes me sad.
It was such a like defining traumatic event for everyone in that household, but like the way that it haunts Anthony, and like the way that you actually finally see why it haunts him in that way. Amazingly done. He's so shocked. Like, you already see that he doesn't know how to process what's going on. Yeah. Then that switches back to them at Aubrey Hall. Yes, present day. Awaiting their visitors. Yeah. Their special guests.
the Sharmas. We see Daphne with her baby. The baby is
baby Augie.
Yeah. Is it August? Like, is August the name, or because why did Augie is not the real name? I hope.
Oh, they never said the full name, so I don't know.
I think maybe it's August. I don't know. Or Augustus, or I don't know.
Augustine.
Because it's a female in the book, so they switched that to male. So I don't know what name they're going for. And that's the scene where Francesca is like, do you want to come see the baby? And Eloise is like, has it changed?
I fucking love Eloise.
I'm like, so relatable. Like, has the baby changed? No, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to see it. Like, what's the point? So they arrive at Aubrey Hall, the Sharmas. And please note that the first person Anthony Bridgerton goes to is Miss Kate Sharma. He doesn't even think about going to Edwina.
And I love when the carriage pulls up, the first person he not locks eyes with, but looks at is Kate, and he sees her smile, and he smiles, and I'm like,
he walks straight to her. His thoughts are not even of Edwina. Like, he kind of forgot she was even there.
But wait, we totally didn't even talk about it. But basically, he tells Daphne about, like, you know, the Sharma sisters and how he's courting Edwina. True. And, like, the annoying sister, just, like, she's always in the way. So we gotta, like, you know, make sure that she likes me. Like, you know, accepts this. Anyways, continue.
And then, so he goes straight to Kate. He tells Kate, like, oh, you were smiling. And she was like, yeah, I was admiring the view which you are blocking. Meets Newton.
We didn't even talk about Newton in episode 1.
Yeah, Newton is not impressed, to say the least. And he tells her, by the end of your stay, I will have changed your opinion of me. And then he turns to the dog and he says, him too. And then Daphne goes to them and she's like, oh, so you must be Edwina Sharma. And Anthony's like, no. And that's the moment where Daphne is like, something's going on here.
But I also love that, like, Daphne, she just noticed Kate, and she didn't even, like, go say hi to Edwina. I don't know if that was just, like, maybe they cut a scene or something, but she didn't even look at Edwina, and I'm like, Daphne! She clearly knows.
Yeah. I mean, she's clearly like, well, who else could my brother be talking to than the woman he's courting? No, the sister. Anyway, it had me rolling.
Yeah,
it was amazing. So then we get the second flashback where everyone, so you hear and see Violet on the staircase, like, absolutely losing her mind. Like, she's hysterical, she's crying, she doesn't know what to do. The kids are kind of all like, they don't know what to do, and then the staff is kind of piling on top of Anthony, you know, asking this and that of him, and, you know, these new expectations, and, you know, you're Viscount Bridgerton now, like, what do you want us to do with the body, blah, blah, blah. And you just see, I don't even think he says anything, or maybe, like, one line, but besides that, it's really just, like, a focus on his face, and you see how already he's so lost and in despair, but he's not, like, that's the moment where it cements for him, like, I'm not allowed to process this. There's no time. I need to fill these shoes. I need to take up this position and become the man of the house, because there's so much that's asked of me all of a sudden. So it's so brilliantly done. I love the flashbacks.
Agreed.
So
and
much.
I feel like you said, he didn't even have the moment to process the grief. Like, this is an 18-year-old child, a boy, and he is, like, expected to make decisions on, like, when's the funeral gonna happen? How is he gonna be buried? Like, we have to pay this bill. We have to do this and this and this. And, like, he's still with tears in his eyes. Like,
he just died. Like, he's still fresh in the garden.
He just witnessed his father, like, this monumental figure in his life die from a bee sting, and he hasn't even, like, dealt with that yet. He is, like, forced. He's no longer the big brother. He's no longer, like, allowed to be, like, a son. He is now the guardian of his siblings and his own mother. He also is the head of household, and he has to make all these big decisions at only 18 years of age. And it's just, like, it's just so sad because
it's heavy.
He's only 18.
Like, surely that's something that every kid back then knew, if you're the heir, but it must be different to actually realize that now you're in charge of everything and that you're, like you said, like perfectly said, you are no longer a son.
Yeah.
Your mom, you have control over even her. Yeah. And your mom is unable to mother you anymore. Like, she can't mother you anymore. You have to step up. Yeah. It must be a shock. I mean, I think it's clear that it is. But yeah. So we jump from that to Pall Mall.
I know, the ultimate low to the ultimate high. The one scene we were dying for.
Did you girls cry? I was crying on that scene. Those flashbacks, I was like in fucking tears, sobbing.
Oh yeah.
And then the next fucking 2 minutes, I'm like laughing my ass off.
I know.
It was a hectic episode.
Whiplash. Pall Mall, of course, they included that. They couldn't have not included that. Pall Mall.
That's a good scene.
As it is in the book, it's a very it's very close to how it is in the book.
Minus Simon.
They really took the scene like as is.
Yeah.
Basically. How could they not anyway? Like, that scene was written for TV.
Yeah.
So
I loved it.
But yeah, so Daphne is explaining the rules to the Sharma sisters. Right away, Edwina is like, I don't know about this game, guys.
Yeah.
and Kate is like progressively getting more and more excited.
I love it. She's like, wait, to confirm, you hit the other player's balls, like that's we can do that. And
You
like, hey,
play
great.
your opponent.
Yeah,
you don't play the game, you play the opponent.
I know.
And Daphne is like going through the strategies of every one of her siblings, but then when she gets to her, she's like, me, of course, I'm a mystery and I will not reveal my secrets. But then they start playing. Oh, wait. First off, we get to picking your mallet, which, of course, Edwina goes for blue, and Kate goes for black, not knowing what it means. And then right away, Colin is like, oh my god. I think it's Colin that says, like, last time I tried to pick the black mallet, you almost tried to, you threatened to kill me. And then he's like, no, it's fine. He's like pretending that like it's not a big deal.
And you can see the anger on his face, and he's like, no, it's fine.
Yeah, and I love that there's like a beat of silence, and then everyone like rushes to grab a mallet. Like sibling behavior.
I loved it.
They leave the pink one behind.
Yeah, Anthony is left with a pink. I love Anthony and Kate, but I specifically love Anthony's facial expressions in this scene. He's like, every time he claps.
I know, he's such a like sarcastic little clap.
He's just like angry clapping. So the game starts, and it becomes very obvious very quickly to Edwina that this is not a game.
No, it's a war.
This couldn't be further from a game. It's a war. Yeah. Kate is loving it. She's fully embracing the Bridgerton spirit of no sportsmanship whatsoever. And she has the opportunity to, throw Anthony's ball very, very far away.
Yes.
Which she does, because she's playing her opponent, as she should. Anthony is pretending like that doesn't bother him. Edwina takes a shot, she misses, and then she's like, well, I guess like maybe I should hop out. Maybe now's the time to...
No, because she's like, I'm not going to go in the forest and probably get dirty to get my ball.
Boring.
A little boring, yeah.
And then it's Colin's turn.
Yeah, well, Anthony first, he goes with Edwina, and he's like, oh, well, maybe do you want me to, like, hop out too? He's trying to be a gentleman here, whatever. And Edwina's like, no, it's fine. Like, I'll just go talk to the mothers. Like the boring person that I am. So Anthony goes back, and Colin takes the shot, and basically Kate's ball ends up exactly where Anthony's ball is. And then someone is like, well, are you guys done? And both of them are like, absolutely fucking not.
Sorry, I was going to say, was that like on purpose on Colin and Benedict's behalf? Because those two were giggling the whole time.
I think Colin did it on purpose. I think he hit her ball exactly where he wanted it to go. Because Colin Bridgerton, in the novel anyway, he is a matchmaking, little, conniving boy, okay?
Yeah.
I think this was a nod to that, where he totally hit her ball where he knew Anthony's was.
I just, I love Colin and, Benedict in this scene, particularly, because of, you can tell they're, little, they're scheming behind the scenes. They're laughing behind Anthony's back. They're laughing, they're just so great. I love them.
Yeah, so Anthony and Kate go to retrieve their ball, and they find it in a pit of mud. And this was an addition that I absolutely love. I love it.
Same.
I love that Kate is like, well, we could just take them out, and Anthony's like, no, I would know.
And you would use it against me?
Right, yeah. So she hikes up her skirts, and she's like, I guess we're going in the mud then.
And her slippers were so nice. I was like, girl, take them off at least.
So she goes straight into the mud, and so does he. They get their balls out, but then they get their balls out. That sounded so wrong. But she gets stuck in the mud. And then Anthony tries to help her out of the mud, but then they both fall into the mud.
But he's exasperated. He's like, oh, fine, I guess I'll help you.
I love that she's stuck, and then this idiot just looks at her, and he's like, well, just unstuck yourself. I'm like, how dumb are you? She's like, I'm stuck. What do you want me to do? Anyway, so they both fall right into the mud, and at first he's like, don't you dare laugh. Which is such an Anthony thing to say. And then, of course, they both end up laughing and
it was
have
so
this little
cute.
moment. Yeah, this moment of understanding. And then he's like, can we have a truce? She seems willing to, contemplate a truce with him. But then, what happens?
She hits her ball in
his
a
ball.
direction.
It's his ball.
Oh, it was his ball.
Yeah, she's like,
okay.
I'm not letting you win. So she hits his ball.
Yeah.
Again.
She hits his ball in a direction, and then he looks at where it is, and he just storms off. And she's like, well, what the hell? And then she walks and walks, and she gets there to where the balls were. And she sees that it's Edmund's resting place. That that's where his dad's body is.
The past comes back to haunt him. And that's when we get the third flashback.
Oh, this flashback.
That was the hardest one to watch, for sure.
I was crying.
Violet is trying to give birth, but there are complications. So Anthony is called by the doctor, and it is traumatizing, to say the least, to watch it. It was one thing I think it's mentioned in the book, just briefly, that the labor was very difficult, there were complications, blah blah blah, but I don't think it goes as much in depth. Definitely not the doctor actually asks Anthony, what do I do? So that was an amazing addition. The emotion is so strong here, and as a woman watching that, it's difficult to see Violet's anguish, and she's screaming this is my son. How dare you ask my son what to do with me? This is my life, my body, my baby. I will choose and decide what happens here. But the doctor is relentless in asking Anthony instead, because he's the man of the house. Literally, his decisions over his mother's body prevail over hers. That is messed
It's so sad.
Messed up.
And it's just he doesn't probably even understand fully what's going on either.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah.
And it's just so sad. She actually has no rights at that point until Anthony is no, do whatever she wants, because he is he's not allowed to panic or have some sort of emotional reaction to what's going on. He is literally on the cusp of a panic attack, but he can't let himself reach there. Yeah. It was just such an awful scene to have a child be forced to make that decision as well.
Also have a mother be forced to plead with her son to let her have autonomy over her own body. Not that he didn't want to, he's just so in shock that he doesn't know what to do, but she's screaming out no, the Viscount is Edmund, Edmund would let me choose for myself, blah blah blah. It is traumatizing. It really is.
And it's not only that too, because like, let's keep in mind, like Edmund probably just died like earlier that day, and like the stress of that made the baby come maybe sooner. I don't know what happened, but it's just like she as a woman, as a wife, as a lover is not able to even fully grieve, you know, her husband. She's faced with this idea now that, you know, she made this plan to walk this life with this man, and now she has 7 kids, the 8th one's on the way, and now she's like forced to like live a life without her support system and like her man. And it's just like, imagine living with that and also delivering a child that you thought you'd be raising with your husband. He's nowhere to be seen now because sadly he died. Like, imagine as a woman like going through that, and like also like you said, having your son make these decisions for her that he has no idea or no, like, he does not know what's going on.
And the decision is literally like, who do I save? The baby and let the mother die? Or do I save the mother and let the baby die? You're asking that of a 19-year-old boy who doesn't know shit. And then this cuts to a shot that it's kind of a quick shot, but I think it's very heavy in meaning. It's a shot of Anthony in his office staring up at his father's painting, and it's a shot from above. So you're actually looking from Edmund's perspective kind of at Anthony, and he looks so small because of how they position the camera. He looks so small, like that child that's still lost is inside him, like grieving still.
Exactly how I felt when I saw that scene, because like it's the way he's standing too. It's like he's not
like very childlike. Very
childlike. He has zero confidence in that moment. His shoulders are like rolled in a bit, and it's just like,
and this is present day Anthony, so it shows you that boy is still very much in him. Like he's in that moment he's feeling distress,
because even up until that point at 29 years old, he still hasn't grieved his father. He wasn't allowed to like close that chapter in his life. He's still very much like feeling that pain. It's still in him.
But then at the same time it kind of emphasizes just how much he looks up to his father, that like his father is not just like, it's not just looking up, like he looks huge, you know, like larger than life type of thing to Anthony in that shot, that it's a standard that he can't ever reach. That's what that scene shows you. It's like, no, he knows he'll never be his father. Look at him, he's this tiny little boy looking up at his father, lost. It's a short scene. There's no words said, but I think it's a very important scene, and that was really well done on the part of the showmakers here.
How did you guys feel about like the placements of the flashbacks, like in this episode?
Great. Like as said, crying 1 minute, laughing the next. But no, I love it because it's a very Bridgerton heavy episode, as should all episodes be, but that's not the case in this season. But this was a very Bridgerton heavy episode where we really dive into present day Bridgerton, but also how did the Bridgertons get where they are now?
They're at.
Which is a story that we've been waiting for since season 1. I mean, we know, but you know, viewers that are not familiar with the series, they never got that story, you know, so I'm sure they were anticipating, you know, finally knowing what happened to the father and why is Anthony the way that he is. They did an amazing job. I really, really love these flashbacks.
I think the flashbacks were really well done, and like they were placed into this episode really well.
We also get that funny shot of Lady Danbury and Violet eavesdropping.
Oh yeah,
they were so funny.
I love their little moments together. Throughout the season.
I love how Eloise just comes in and she's like, do I even want to know why you guys are looking at each other and grinning?
They looked like teenage girls again. I love it. This is also when we get Benedict getting high as a kite.
My boy Benedict was so nervous about getting into like this
art
Royal
school.
Academy for art or whatever, and like Colin brought back some things.
I love that Colin is like, oh, when I, you know, took this back in Greece, I contemplated a blade of is it a blade of grass or something for like hours. And right away Benedict is like, I'm gonna take the whole thing then.
And he dumps it all.
He's like, I need inspiration.
That scene
so funny.
was so good.
his
high as a
expressions.
kite.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was high as a kite, and his like comedic timing
Amazing.
in that
Perfect.
dinner.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And like he's eating his food like, oh my god.
Like these lights look like, these candles look like starlight, and like
stars. He's like, we're having dinner amongst the stars.
yeah. And then Eloise is like, tell me more. Like she is so like, she's dying. It's such a great scene. Anyways, at this dinner, we get the Sharmas and the Bridgertons and Lady Danbury. They're all there having dinner, and this is, you know, after talking to Daphne, Anthony is like, yeah, I'm going to was it after talking to Daphne? I don't remember. But anyways, at this dinner he is intent on proposing to Edwina, and he decides to, you know, make a toast and do just that until he looks at Kate and he fumbles it and changes the subject altogether.
Yeah.
Well, he's looking at Kate through the whole dinner, and I love that you see Daphne looking at Kate, looking at Anthony, looking back at Kate, looking back at Anthony, because she's noticing that they're only looking at each other, and she's like, huh.
Yeah. Love it.
So we get like a little hint at a potential Kate and Eloise friendship here. I love the decision of having Eloise ask Kate, because, you know, Kate asked Lady Danbury about being, what's the word I'm looking for?
A spinster.
A spinster, thank you. And then Eloise goes to Kate and asks the same thing. And basically, you know, what Kate says is that, you know, it's not as easy as it seems. You know, you're kind of on the outskirts of society, you know, looked down upon a little bit. I wish something that was missing for me in that conversation is I really wish Kate had said something to Eloise about how lonely it is, too. I get why it was like more, oh, well, it's society's problem that this is how it is. You know, it's society's fault that we're viewed as being on the outskirts just because we're past a certain age, which I get the point. I understand the point. I like the point, but I also would have liked for Kate to maybe pass it on to Eloise that, like, maybe it's a little lonely too, you know?
The way that I interpreted that scene, the whole, like, comment about society. But I also saw it as, like, Kate has always been about Edwina. So maybe she's not letting herself face, like, what loneliness would be like without Edwina. And also, she tends to hide a lot of things. So maybe she's just like, yeah, she feels lonely, but she will never voice that.
Yeah.
She'll never voice that to anyone else, especially to someone that she doesn't really talk to, like Eloise.
Yeah, so Anthony visits his father's grave, which brings us to the final flashback. And
that scene also crushed my soul.
Honestly, Ruth, the actress who plays Violet, she outdid herself in this episode.
Yeah,
like,
she did.
I mean, she's amazing, period. Like, I fully believe her character, like, all the time. But here in particular, like, acting out those emotions so, like, it was so believable. I felt like I was there and I was crying out with her, you know?
Yeah.
And then it kind of, because I remember I didn't really like her in the first season. Yeah. So it kind of had me be more understanding of her and her situation. And there's a lacking with her children, conversations that weren't had.
Yes.
I really appreciated her this season.
I think it highlighted how she's not perfect. She's trying, and how hard it is to try in at certain points for her. Like, I love that it touches upon how she's not able to be a mother in that moment when she's grieving Edmund. She's having trouble seeing her child, her newborn child. It's difficult for her. She doesn't want to mother in that moment. She doesn't want to see her kids or go to, you know, dinner with them or whatnot. Like, it's such an important thing to see.
Yeah.
for a mother specifically, because we're always led to believe that mothers should put their kids first no matter what, and that, you know, the love for your kids should like outweigh everything else, and that you should be happy because you have all these kids and like whatever, move on, move forward, you have to stay strong for everyone. So to see a mother who's not able to do that, she's depressed, doesn't want to see her kids, it's amazing. I really commend them for that.
I agree as well. I think that scene was really important in like seeing a woman's grief, but like in that moment she disregarded Anthony as her child, and she tells him things that like a child would never want to know. Like her mom literally said, I wish this baby had killed me. Yeah. So that I wouldn't be faced with like living a life without my husband. Whereas you're talking to your child, you're telling your child this, who still very much needs his mom, but he can't voice that because of his position now. But it's just like he had to hear his mom say that, and also like see the grief of like what that love did to her. And of course, like, you would be afraid of love. You would not want love anywhere near you, because of like what you saw. So yeah, I just thought that was like really sad to see.
Yeah, it kind of shows you, without being too obvious, that he really did not have the time to grieve because his mother was absent. You know, she was alive, but she was absent for some time afterwards. So he did have to take up the role of both the mother and the father for some time. Yeah. Plus, I do love that scene because you also get quickly after Violet, present day Violet, and how she has found joy in life again. She has, you know, pushed through and you know, managed to survive and find joy in being a mother to her kids again, and moved on without, you know, found the strength to move on without Edmund in her life. So the contrast is also really nice.
Yeah. And I loved in that moment, like you said, Anthony goes to visit that grave, and like Violet's there with fresh flowers, and it's like kind of like her removing the dead flowers is like kind of removing like those cobwebs, or like those, like that heaviness that she had felt at that time in that flashback. And like you see the new flowers. And I also loved in that moment where she tells Anthony, like, you know, love isn't a weakness, and you know, like, you lost your smile, you lost your lightness, and I want you to, like, you know, be able to like know that love isn't a weakness, it's actually a strength. And I love that he voiced in that moment that he vows to never subject a woman to what she went through, because she wasn't there, she was just vacant, and like that traumatized him so much so that he does not want love in his marriage.
You know what else I noticed? And I noticed this the second time around, and it breaks me, is she says in that flashback, that fourth flashback, she says that Edmund was the air that she was breathing, and that now that he's gone, there's no air. And then throughout the season, there's so much emphasis on breathing when Kate and Anthony are together. And then he literally tells her that you're the reason why I breathe. So it all comes together. Like, he remembered that from when he was 19 years old, when his mother described her love for Edmund in that way, and he took that in, and then he's, you know, repeating it to Kate because now he understands that feeling. So I've seen some people criticize like the fact that there's so much breathing when they're together, but I actually love it, and I love it more. I love it more now that I realized that connection from beginning to end.
Yeah, I didn't make that connection either. Like at the end, like I think it was episode 7, where he tells Kate, like, I find myself breathing for you. Yeah. And then I'm like, damn, now it actually makes sense. Like, just the idea, like, he finally understands where his mom was at 10 years ago. And like, of course, like watching that, never being in love, you're like, like, you're grieving, yeah, your husband died, but it's like you don't understand how detrimental that was for her. I loved it. The flashbacks are so good.
He knows what it looks like when there's no air, and he doesn't want to. He realizes he doesn't want that. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, we're getting ahead.
Blah blah blah. Yeah. So you mentioned the whole conversation with Violet on the bench. Anthony chickens out of proposing to Edwina. This is when it happens.
Yes. And then Edwina was like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Why didn't he propose? And Kate's like, it's okay. You'll find another suitor.
Here comes the controversial changes. Change number 1. Edwina starts having feelings for Anthony Bridgerton here. Hate it.
She's so naive, though. Like, can you blame her? I feel like she's very sheltered. Like, her family... Well, Kate... I guess Kate and the mom, like, they sheltered her. So, her believing that she was in love with Anthony... Like, I mean, I don't blame her.
What I don't understand is that they explained the change in her character as them wanting to flesh out her character and make her more mature. What it did is the exact opposite for me. It made her more childish. Because in the books, there's only one. What's so great about Edwina is that she's mature enough that she sees right away that Kate and Anthony have something, not necessarily love, but she sees that there's something and she backs off.
And she is the one that called it out.
Yeah, she's the first one to be like, there's something going on here. And she's like, I will let my sister have that. Whereas here, Edwina instead is like, starts having feelings for Anthony, is completely oblivious, and then calls Kate selfish. So it was a choice.
Anyways,
it was a choice.
Where I was going with that, is Edwina, like, I think it was on purpose, and I felt like maybe like it wasn't as like in your face as I thought it was, but like for me at least, I felt like Edwina kept emphasizing Viscountess, like I'm gonna be his Viscountess. So I think it's like she was in love with like the idea of him and the position that she could have with him. And it's not like she was like a gold digger or anything. I think it was just like the way that she was trained, that like the higher you are in society, the more successful you are. So I think she was in love with like what he could give her, and like that she could be a Viscountess, not that she was in love with Anthony Bridgerton.
But also she knows nothing about him. She doesn't know him. She literally doesn't know him. It's like puppy love to her. Like they made her more childish, which she wasn't.
This is how I read it. I don't think it was that she was in love with Anthony. Like I said, it was because she literally mentioned Viscountess or being his Viscountess like 3-4 times.
Well, later on, I think she does truly believe herself in love with him, which is funny because when this is another episode later on, but you know, at some point she asks him like, oh, what like, how do you see me? And he's like, oh, I empathize with you.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess maybe at this point, episode 3, she still, like you said, sees like she's like, I want this house, I want this family, I want, you know, it's very much like I want.
Yeah.
And not like, it doesn't really have anything to do with Anthony besides what he can offer her, you know, what he represents, like you said. But I do think it changes. But what does it stand upon? I don't know, because she doesn't know him. She doesn't know him. So, anyways, bitter about that. Not gonna lie.
Hated it. I hated that inclusion. 140,000% hated it.
Then Colin asks Eloise if she's heard about Marina. This is an interesting thing because he asks, have you heard about her? Don't you ladies like write to each other? And that got me thinking, is this a hint for the future? Because how Sir Philip with Love begins is that Eloise was corresponding with Marina. Then Marina dies, I think, and she writes to her husband, and then they start having this thing, I think. So I wonder if, because at first Eloise is like, why would I write to Marina? So I'm wondering if they were trying to like add in a little something. I don't know. Just my final note for the episode was, wow, episode 3 is a huge episode.
Also, hello, Bee
Bee Sting. Oh my god.
Where are you going?
Bee Sting. Yeah. That too. Wow.
I guess it had no impact on the story whatsoever. But let's go.
Well, let's discuss the changes. So
that's where the changes really got going.
So basically, Kate is out riding at dawn which she should not be doing, but she's doing it once again. And when she comes back to Aubrey Hall, she finds Anthony, who is very obviously there to try to convince her at last to propose, to allow him to propose to her sister.
And this man mentioned, like, feelings. Like, my feelings would not allow for me to speak.
Yeah, and she calls him out. She's like, what feelings? The feelings that I heard you say you didn't want?
Yeah.
And then, she's basically insulting him, and you just see him looking at her, and then there's this, like, bee, and you see how his whole face changes. And the bee lands on her little jacket first, and she tries to, like, swipe it away, and he fucking panics. He's like, don't move, damn it. And then the bee stings her, and instead of putting his lips to her bosom,
suck it out.
Kate grabs his hand and puts his hand on her bosom to, I guess, show him that she's still alive. Because my man was panicking.
Yeah. Because he's having a full-out panic attack. Yeah.
And then they kind of have, like, this moment where she's touching his chest, he's touching hers. They get really close.
Because she's trying to, like, calm him down.
Yeah, she's like, I'm okay, I'm okay. And they almost kiss, and then they get interrupted.
Because Anthony is like, I'm feeling her titty.
I mean, it was literally, like, next to her neck. That is not your titty, but,
But, like, no, it was, like, I don't know why I'm trying to demonstrate it, but, like, it was literally, like, it was there.
I mean, it was, like, on her but anyways, it wasn't, like, that close to her boobies.
No, but he, like,
yeah,
you feel the sexual tension. Like the moment changed, like, in a snap, and, like, you saw it, you felt it.
But I do love that he's having a panic attack, and Kate immediately understands the situation, like, immediately puts aside their, like, animosity, and she's just trying to calm him down because she understands that, like, he needs that. They do not get caught. No lips were applied to any body parts, and they separate, and both of them go and hide, and basically are really horny and, like, questioning what just happened. But actually, Kate is kind of like, oh my god, but Anthony's actually crying, so.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I just felt like Jonathan Bailey's portrayal here of, like, Anthony's fear was amazing. It was just, like, so raw and so real, and, like, the way he portrayed, like, this panic attack, amazing. Like, top points, give him all the awards. Like, this scene was, like, life-changing. I loved it. Of course, it didn't happen the way it happened in the books, but, like, I think the acting in the scene, amazing.
You know what? I'll take it. They obviously didn't want to go with them getting caught, so they tried to do something else, something a little different, while still giving that scene to the readers, the book readers, because they knew that that's, like, iconic of the Viscount Who Loved Me. It wouldn't be Kate and Anthony's story without the bee sting, like, she has to be stung by a bee at some point but it's not like the moment where his life flashes before his eyes type of thing, because they're not, like, I mean, I think he has feelings for her at that point, but it's mostly just seeing someone being stung. Like, that really shakes him to his core. Shakes him? I don't care. Anyways, I'm losing it. I'm also losing my voice already.
I know, right?
Finally, episode 4, Victory. Short, sweet, little title, Victory. What happens in this episode?
So really quickly, Edwina, I always say her name wrong. Edwina believes the reason why Anthony hasn't proposed to her yet is because of the hatred or, like, animosity between him and Kate. And she makes it her mission, stupidly, to get Kate and Anthony to like each other and to...
You did it to yourself, girl.
Yeah. So she tells her sister to win his affection, or, like,
She literally says, make him love you. We need him to fall in love with you.
Yeah, she said, make him love you. Yeah.
You did it to yourself. Okay.
So, they are sitting, and Anthony obviously is there, and he tells her that they're going hunting. Kate calls him out because Edwina is like, why don't you go with him, Kate?
First off, Kate appears, and then Edwina is like, oh, have you heard that Kate got stung by a bee?
Oh, yes.
And Kate is like, yeah, I got stung. And Anthony's like,
and he's like, ah.
And then she's like, I'm fine though. And he's like, ah.
I know, his second was like so soft.
The awkwardness in this scene was stellar, okay? Like, no.
Good. It's the change of intonation and the softness of his second where he's like, damn, okay, she's actually all right. She didn't die overnight.
But it's also an awkward like they're both pretending that they weren't both present when it happened.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, Edwina is trying to convince Anthony to take Kate on this hunt. And I think it's like kind of probably an underrated Kanthony apparently is what we're saying now, Kanthony scene.
Yeah.
But I love it. I rewatched this exchange probably 10 or 15 times in a row. I love their acting. Like, Anthony is so good here. Like, I think Edwina says, like, oh, Kate is an excellent shot. And the way Anthony says, of course she is, with, like, rolling his eyes and stuff. Like, just, they are so good here. And, like, his smile and laugh.
It's so good. And I love that Benedict comes in. Like, Benedict comes in and he's like a little instigator too. And then
Benedict is just smiling in the back, like, enjoying this back and forth.
I love it. So Kate is like, okay, fine, sure, I'll go. But then, like, Anthony is all like, no, actually don't. And the whole, like, this argument of, like, it's because I'm a woman, you don't want me to go. And
he's like, no. It's not that. I didn't say that. When did I say that?
But he did, like, somehow allude to it. And then, like, Kate's like, oh my gosh.
But his smile, his condescending little patronizing smile when he's like, women do not hunt. He's laughing like he got one on her. I love it.
And then Kate's like, no, I do.
They're
so I'm going.
being so petty and competitive here, and this is Kate and Anthony. Like, I don't care what anyone else says. I don't care what the angry book fans say at the moment online about this series, this season. This is Kate and Anthony, and you cannot.
No. They are, and I feel like Jonathan Bailey and Simone, like we've said, Simone Ashley, like they really embodied Kate and Anthony. They were Kate and Anthony. That's not an argument here for like at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, yeah, for sure. Like you would like to see the story go in the way that the book went because that book was actually really amazing and I loved it. So yeah, but they are Kate and Anthony.
Then Plant Daddy makes his entrance, aka Philip.
Can I read my notes word for word what I have here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Also, Plant Husband has all rights and she doesn't deserve this pure boy. Die, bitch, die.
She's so mean. She's so cold.
She really is.
He's such a nice man.
Yeah.
You can tell he's genuine.
Yeah.
And he just wants to talk about his plans.
He's so excited to hear that Colin has been to Greece and that he wants to talk about plans.
And then he cracked like an olive joke, Colin. It was so bad.
Oh, God.
But no, I loved him. I loved Philip in that little scene we got. I don't know what he's like as a husband, as a father. I don't know. But I loved that moment because it really showed you, like, he is so unhappy and, like, he actually doesn't know what genuine love is. And I don't think he ever will.
And he's very much trying.
Ideally.
Like, he is trying, but it's on her end. I think she says, like, oh, I'm content or whatever. But she says that really meanly, you know? You kind of get the sense that, like, she's like, staying in this relationship because he's a good father and, you know, he lets her do whatever she wants.
She doesn't really have a choice.
Yeah, but you get the point that you get the sense that there's no love between them, no real affection, at least on her end, you know? Like, I think he likes her. He tries to, you know, make her feel welcomed and, you know, appreciated and stuff.
I think he was trying to make the best out of a bad situation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that he had, like, affection for her, I think, but, like, on her side, obviously, in her perspective, we saw her in season 1, she was very much in love with this one man that she got pregnant for, and then she finds out that he ultimately died, and imagine, like, kind of being forced to marry the man that you loved, his brother. Like, you're marrying his brother, who's nothing like him, obviously he probably pales in comparison because she has that idea of his brother in her head. And it's like she's not trying to make the best out of the situation because, you know, she's been burned in the past.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people online say like, oh, well, she's obviously not suffering from postpartum depression, which I think is actually really funny because that just shows to me you don't know what depression looks like. It can look like someone who's putting up a front, and it can look like someone who's very angry, aka just look at Nesta from A Court of Silver
I was
Flames.
just thinking about Nesta as soon as you said that.
Depression looks different on everyone, and she could very well be, you know, telling Colin, like, I'm content here, everything's fine, but deep down she's drowning. So I think it's funny that people are like, oh, she's clearly not depressed. Well, that's still to be, you know, discovered, because I'm not sure that that's true.
Yeah. And can I just say really quickly before we move on to, like, the Bridgertons, but, like, Chris Fulton looked real cute in his one scene.
Girl, I saw that you added Sir Philip with Love on Goodreads. I saw that.
I did. I'm gonna read it for that man, that one plant daddy.
Plant daddy. Yeah. There's a sex scene in a conservatory. Conservatory, or is it like a
greenhouse?
A greenhouse. Yeah, I think it's a greenhouse. Plant daddy do be daddying in the plants. So, anyways.
Interesting.
Then switching back to horny Anthony getting a peek at Kate's leg.
Oh yeah.
Why did she hike up her skirt so damn high, man?
She did it on purpose. It was on purpose.
Right?
Yeah, I know.
Come on.
My man is left without words. He's like stumbling over his next sentence, like he doesn't know what words are anymore.
It was just such a great scene because, like, yeah, it just like he really tries to not look at her though. After he saw the leg, he's like, holy shit.
Yeah. And then they find themselves, because Kate is like, this hunt is shit. You guys don't know what you're doing clearly, so I'm just gonna go off separately. And she does. And Anthony finds her in the woods, and he's like, you can't go off with a gun like that. Which, fair enough. Like, you definitely shouldn't do that, just in case what you're shooting is actually a fellow human being. You don't know that. You know, they're talking about the bee sting. You know, they're addressing it. And both of them is like, you looked at me. You looked at me first. What do you mean I looked at you? I never looked at you. You were looking at me like something. And then he was like, what do you mean I was looking at you? You know, blah, blah, blah.
How did I look at you then?
Yeah.
Tell me.
I love
No,
that.
and I loved the scene where he, like, literally took liberties because he's like, you're not shooting it right. And then he literally, like, you know, holds her close, takes the big old sniff he's been doing. Like, he literally
sniffing her up.
This man is so animalistic.
Yeah.
I love it. And he's gone again for her scent until, you know, they get interrupted.
Again. And that's the end of that scene, but that was glorious. I really loved their exchange. Their banter in this episode was particularly good for me. Then, well, I mean, this is the episode, I would say, where we start seeing that Kate and Anthony have developed feelings of some kind. Perhaps not love yet, but definitely, like, something is a-brewing between the two of them. And I think they both start realizing it as well.
Yes.
Especially when Kate goes back to her room after the hunt. You can start feeling that you start seeing that she's feeling a little guilty around Edwina. So much so that she doesn't go out of her room for a couple days. She's like, this was too much horniness for me. I can't.
Yeah.
Need to process.
But also, that night, the hunting night, she couldn't sleep. It was thunderstorming, and then she goes to the library. And he also couldn't sleep, and he goes to the library. And where I was a bit peeved, I mean, a lot of people were very angry about this, is that the library scene did not happen.
It happened, and it didn't happen.
Her trauma was disregarded.
as
and it
a
broke
sentence.
my heart. It was reduced to like it reminding her of her father reading to her during these storms.
Yeah, because they always made her uneasy.
And okay, so this is my theory. I feel like maybe season 3, this is like I'm putting on my tinfoil hat here. This is like what I would need to happen. Maybe they make her uneasy, and I'm hoping they revisit it in season 3 if they want to like actually show us Kate and Anthony again. Like maybe she still is uneasy about thunderstorms, and we find out maybe her father used to read to her because of the bad memories they evoked, and because maybe we actually will get to see like the trauma that, you know, her mom dying left her with. And like I'm praying that maybe the reason, like why the dad read to her during those nights was because to get her mind off of what she witnessed as a child.
I don't know. I think it's sad that they removed that because it was such an important part of what they related, you know, the two of them, like how they related to each other, to one another, because yes, it's the whole duty thing and blah blah blah, the love for your family, yeah, sure, but I think what the both of them truly related on, at least in the book as Kate and Anthony, was their trauma, their shared trauma, and how it presents in both of them differently yet similarly. It would have been nice to see a phobia like that as a result of a traumatic event, and see those repercussions on Kate, especially because, like I said at the beginning, her vulnerability is toned down here. So I would have liked to see that from her, and I feel like they had the room, they could have done it. It really wouldn't have taken that much more for them to add that in. They didn't, and it pisses me off even more because I think there's like 3 storms during the whole season, so I'm like, clearly like you knew,
like they really wanted you to feel angry about it.
Right, like every time it storms, I'm like, really guys, really, you're gonna, like, you could have made this a really sunny season.
So that's why I'm literally holding out hope season 3, like her trauma gets uncovered. Like they could fix it if they really wanted to. They could take everyone's feedback and be like, you know what, let's actually add this trauma in, let's do it, because they could do it.
Or they could have her go through something in the next season that actually triggers her trauma for real. You know, maybe it's not there yet and it actually comes after. I don't know. I'm trying. They gave us a library scene,
but they didn't give us the library scene.
They didn't give us the library scene, no. But I do think it's important for us to remove ourselves from the library scene and look at the library scene that we did get, which is nonetheless important and a beautiful scene. It's just not the scene, but it's a good scene.
Yeah. Like, I feel like their sexual tension is still, like, it's still so strong. And, like, you feel it. And, like, you know, like, you see the invisible line between them in that scene where, like, they don't want to cross it, but, like, they come so close to it.
Well, it's the scene where Kate gets to ask Anthony, how did your father die? And he tells her, a bee sting. Yeah. And you see how she just connected all the dots that she needed to connect. He doesn't need to say more than that. She understands him to such an extent that she immediately knows what he means by that. And after that, obviously, it kind of gets, like, hot, you know, between them, inevitably. But I love how, if you look at Anthony's face, and they do spend a lot of time on his face, you see everything that he's saying with his eyes that he's not saying out loud. Like, his facial expression is very, very good in that scene. Like, the way he's looking at her so intensely, and you see the words, you know, between them that are not said out loud. Yeah. So good.
How did you feel about, like, that scene in that particular moment, like, with them?
I thought it was beautiful. I got to see them be more vulnerable with each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I understand where you girls are coming from, where you guys didn't get the library scene, but I thought it was a good scene.
Yeah. Nonetheless, I think it was a good scene because she also, you know, he gave her something that was, you know, that made him vulnerable, and she's like, you know what, I'll share about my father and, like, what happened and throughout all of that. So I feel like they did have their moments.
And does Edwina, she, up until that point, she doesn't know, like, something intimate and about Anthony, and yet she's in love.
She knows
nothing about this man.
This is also, there's a very brief line here that breaks me. there's two lines in this episode particularly that break me, but this is the first one. At the very end of that scene, just, you know, when the thunder booms and, like, that shakes Kate and she, like, leaves? Did you notice that Anthony goes, it's okay, like, right away he wants to comfort her, but she's like, I'm out of here. You know?
Yeah.
It breaks me because, like, right away his, like, first instinct was to try to comfort her, but
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, go back and listen to that. I'm pretty sure it's that scene anyway. I don't see what other scene it could be, but he literally says, like, oh, it's okay, and then in her mind she's already, like, moved on and, like, she needs to run away, you know? So I love it.
It's just so annoying because they had so many opportunities to, like, drop whatever, like, pretenses they had, or, like, he could have dropped his, like, chase for Edwina. Like, there were so many moments.
Yeah, so we get to I think it's called the Hearts and Flowers Ball at Aubrey Hall.
Everyone's in pink.
Eloise has this amazing line where she's being asked by a suitor to dance, and he says, would you do me the honor? And Eloise says, of what? And Violet is like, of dancing, dear. I love
so
Eloise
great.
so much. I think Eloise, like, annoyed some people last season, but she really won me over here. I mean, I liked her last season. She wasn't, like, annoying to me, but she really won me over here. Like, she was amazing.
I loved her character. To be honest, I don't recall her character at all in book 1 and 2 because that's all I've read. So I don't even know what she's like in her own book. So I don't even know how different of a character she is from her character in the book. So.
Eloise is Eloise. So we get a momentous scene.
Because Edwina, again, is clueless.
Anthony and Kate's first dance.
Because Edwina insisted that they dance. Like, let's get that right.
And
such an idiot.
And it's funny. It's funny because literally Lady Danbury keeps looking at them like something's going on. Daphne keeps looking at them like something's definitely going on. And you just have Edwina on the sidelines like perfectly oblivious.
With a big grin on her face.
Like not noticing shit. And you're like, are you for real?
Yeah.
So she pushes Kate to dance with Anthony, or rather, she pushes Anthony to ask Kate to dance. Yeah, so they start dancing, and at first it's just like, you know, them over with some music. They're not talking, and we just get to enjoy, you know, the tension between them as they have eyes for each other only, and everybody else has ceased to exist in the room. And then Kate is like, do you have something to ask me?
Yeah. And then he's like, he vaguely remembers, oh wait, you're not the person that I'm supposed to be with. Anyways, so basically they're dancing, and like you said, she does say, like, do you have something to ask me? And then he, like, you know, they have a talk, and there's like a moment where he's like, do you want me to reconsider? And all of that stuff, because, you know, like, in that moment he's like, oh shit, like, it's like, could this be an option? Like, oh wait, what's going on? And then she tells him, she like bursts his bubble, and she's like, after my sister gets married.
Well, actually, no. First she says, I don't think that what I want matters. And there's this important line from Anthony where he says, I don't think that that's true. I'm like, yes, Anthony, thank you. Somebody tell this girl that what she wants, her desires matter, that she counts, that she should have, you know, things that she's hoping for as well, and that it's not just fucking Edwina over here. Anyways, and then you know, she's like, I'm gonna leave for India.
Yeah, and then his heart like, you can see his heart shatter.
It dropped in the pit of his stomach.
The utter betrayal on his face when she says, I'm leaving for India, and he's like, wait, you're gonna, like, I think he says, like, you're gonna leave your sister, but, like, in the way, like, it made it seem like he was saying, you're gonna leave me?
He goes unhinged.
He literally leaves her on the dance floor and leaves the room.
And Edwina is, like, on the sideline, like, oh my god, Kate, did you just mess it up again? I'm like, bitch,
what did you say, Kate?
Silent. Remain silent right now. We don't want to hear you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
she follows him into the study, and what happens there, guys?
Well, So he's borderline unhinged. Like I said, he's huffing and puffing. He's pacing around the room, and she's like, "Why are you so distressed?"
Yeah.
And he's really holding on to that, like she's gonna leave, because he didn't realize she wasn't gonna be in his life no more.
Well, obviously you're not even marrying her. What do you expect?
Listen, he's an idiot, okay?
He's like the ultimate idiot, and I love it. I love him. And then he point blank like tells her, he's like, "You hate me," and then he's like, "Why do you hate me?"
Yeah. No, he's like, have I done something to you? Like, why do you dislike me so? And then she's like, "You're vexing me." And then he's like, "Why do you always like do everything
Didn't he say something like, "Tell me you feel nothing," or
girl.
something like that?
Yeah. So basically she's like, "You vex me," and then he's like, "And what is it do you think you do to me?"
Yeah.
And then he gets all up in her business.
No, he's like, "You hate me.
You vex me.
You hate me."
Yeah.
And then she's like, "I hate you." Yeah. But you can see in her expression, like, we only get the side of her face, but I feel like she's kind of nodding as she's saying it, and you kind of feel that, like, she knows it's not true, that she doesn't hate him. She's only saying it to hurt him in that moment.
Yeah.
And she repeats it twice, and then he gets real up close, and then he says, "I am a gentleman." The number of time in this series, this season, that this man has had to tell himself, "I am a gentleman," because he was holding on by a thread.
Because he sticks on the idea of his honor. He sticks so close to that, and like, yeah, I've seen people saying, like, I could get drunk how many times he said that.
Yeah. Like, he's holding on to that. He's repeating it out loud to himself to make him believe that he is, in fact, a gentleman, because his honor is, in fact, holding by a thread at this point. So, yeah, he's like, "I'm a gentleman," and I love that she's like, "And your heart is with my sister," and he's like, "And my heart is with your sister." Like, they're both trying to convince themselves, and then he gets real up close.
He didn't finish the sentence, did he?
No, he does. Yeah, he does. But it takes him like he says, and my heart is with your sister. Like there's a pause.
Okay.
And then he gets real up close and he says,
his lips are glistening.
Listen, when I watched it the first time, because his lips were shiny, I was like, is this the kiss? Because like clearly Jonathan Bailey like prepared. I for sure thought they were gonna kiss, because I was like, this is such an actor thing to do, to like make sure your lips are smooth and, you know, nice for this kiss or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, their lips are literally touching. But he says, "Say you do not care for me. Tell me you feel nothing, and I will walk away." Obviously, I'm doing a very poor job, like just the way Jonathan Bailey.
Okay, you gotta breathe it out to me.
I can't. I am not Jonathan Bailey, but the way he says it, my body was fully engaged.
I was literally
every
like,
cell.
Oh, like I don't even know how to describe what my body was going through in that moment.
Full body shivers. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was an alpha moment from him, I have to say.
Anthony really gives me like alpha vibes, like.
But he's supposed to be more like beta as a guy, you know. But
I'm sorry, I love this version of Anthony. Like
yeah, generally speaking, Julia Quinn's heroes are considered more like beta heroes, you know.
Okay.
That, you know, give and take as much as they get type of thing, and like they're not alpha holes. But that was an alpha moment from Mr. Anthony Bridgerton here.
And I loved it.
I was shook it to my core. Very much so.
Did you feel like they were did you feel like they were gonna kiss, or like what did you feel like was gonna happen next?
I thought they were gonna kiss. Like I thought they were gonna get like very hot and heavy. I was waiting for that.
I was waiting for that too. So what happened instead though? Tell us.
Fucking Daphne walks in and interrupts.
Not fucking Daphne. That's funny as hell.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
It was.
I was really expecting her to be like, you know what? You marry her or else we duel at dawn, bitch.
She does. She literally says that. And he's like, well, the difference is that you're the lady and I'm not.
Yeah.
So he gets out of that. But
the double standard.
I love that she got to give him what she got in her own season. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. I really love Daphne here.
I loved her this season.
But this leads us to the moment where she's like, well, clearly you have feelings for her. And Anthony says, what kind of feelings? And she says love. Yeah. And the moment she says love, everyone went, oh no. She just said the L word.
Yeah. And then you see like the resolution in his eyes. You see like he's like, I know what I gotta do. And he's like, thank you. I got it. I know it. I know what I'm doing.
And Daphne's like smiling all happy like she did something. Like she really thinks he's gonna go and propose to Kate. And she has no idea. She has no idea.
Yeah. And at the same time, Kate's also having a moment with Lady Danbury. And that Lady Danbury knows the full truth of like, you know, the Sheffields and like the inheritance. And she's like to Kate, why are you jeopardizing this?
Yeah.
With like getting your own feelings involved. And yeah, Kate is not ready to admit.
Yeah, she says you should be honest with your sister and with yourself. Exactly. Which brings us to the second line that absolutely fucking breaks me.
Oh no.
So the Sheffield Sharma family are about to leave and leave Aubrey Hall. Kate is about to tell something to her sister, which we don't know what that was, but I'm choosing to believe that she was going to tell her that she's the reason why he didn't propose and that she has feelings for Anthony. Like, I think she was going to come out and say it in that moment.
That's what I thought too. I presume that.
But then, or she could have been about to say about the whole, like, Sheffield scheme. But I think she was going to admit her feelings in that moment. Anthony walks out. He's like, wait, can I talk to you? And the line that breaks me is that Kate turns around all happy and she's like, of course. And he says, I wasn't talking to you.
Yeah, that broke my heart.
I know. My heart
fell
out of my chest.
Yeah.
And then I love that the camera pans to her as the whole scene unfolds.
That was so cold.
And she turns around with like kind of like relieved and like with a smile on her face.
She's like, of course,
too.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
No, and then so basically we're totally avoiding what happens, but this man goes on one knee.
Well, because it fucking breaks me first, okay? This scene breaks me first and then it breaks me even further.
It doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop.
And then he proposes to Edwina. And like I said, it pans to Kate's face and you see like it all crumble and like inside her.
And she's so close to them too. She has front row seats to all that.
It goes further than that because the moment he gets down on his knees, literally Kate becomes background furniture. She, like, you see Edwina give her a glove so that the ring can go on her finger. And you have a shot of just Kate holding the glove. And she's become, like, furniture. And I'm like, ouch. That is actually awful. Feels awful. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
The engagement. We're here. We've made it. Did you think they were going to take it that far?
No. I didn't want them to. I didn't think they would.
I didn't think they were going to take it that far. I kept thinking they weren't. And I think this is the point where I kind of struggled with the rest of the season because I was still, like, trying to process my own shock that they were actually taking it there. So that's why I'm actually excited to rewatch the next 4 episodes because I feel like I'm going to enjoy them so much more now that I've, like, moved on past that and I know that it's coming and that it's here and I can just enjoy the angst and the push and pull for what it is as opposed to just me being like, are they actually going there? Like, what the hell? So I did not expect them
because
to go
I think
that
at
far.
this point now, it's just like, this is okay. So this is kind of the issue that I had with it because, like, I didn't expect it to go this far. And, like, of course we know Anthony and Kate are the main couple. They have, like, all the emotions. They have all the rights. But then the moment that ring goes on Edwina's finger, her anger and her, like, betrayal is justified at that point. And, like, and it's not, like, it's not cheating for, like, in a way, but it kind of is in the sense where, like, yes, he didn't promise Edwina anything, no love or anything, but she's under the impression that there's love involved. And they kind of go behind her back and do things. I know I'm getting ahead. We're not there yet. But I'm just saying, like, it kind of put this, like, shroud of, like, negativity and, like, I don't know, like, wrongness around Kate and Anthony, whereas I never felt that in the book. And I never wanted to feel that about my couple that I loved in this series. And it's just, like, I didn't like it. I really did not like where they went after this proposal. But I enjoyed, like I said, I enjoyed the seasons we got of the scenes of Kate and Anthony. And of course, everything in the end worked out. But I just didn't like in those few episodes where like things were just... Edwina had a right to be angry.
I think I'm gonna eat it up the second time around. Like, this is the angst I'm here for.
No, and I love the angst.
I love Forbidden. And just, I never imagined Kate and Anthony as, like, forbidden romance. But I'm here for it now.
I liked it. I think it worked out better. I enjoyed it more the way it played out in the show than what it did in the book. Because it was angsty. I felt all the angst throughout from there on the rest of the episodes. Mm-hmm. It was very angsty. So I had no issues with it. I love the drama.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, like, I understand where Anthony was coming from, like, his decision of, like, you know, removing love from the equation. I understand. And as soon as he realized his feelings for Kate was love, like, very early on, you know, and, like, you know, we all know, he knows that it was love that he felt for Kate, and he was running from that. So, like, I see it, and I understand why he made these decisions. He was just running away.
Yeah. And I didn't say this at the beginning, but I can kind of understand why they didn't go with, you know, scene for scene, the Viscount Who Loved Me, even though if there's any book in that series that was perfect for TV, to the point where you're reading it and it's kind of like a movie in your head, it's that book.
And the one story they should have rewritten was The Duke and I, and they didn't do that.
Well, they did, except that one scene. So, but they love the drama. Like, that's pretty clear to me. Shondaland loves the drama. But the reason why I think they didn't do it is because if they had, I think season 2 would have ended up looking very similar as far as pacing of the romance to season 1. Where halfway through they get married and then they have like issues as a married couple, they're not being honest with each other, and then they make up by the end.
Yeah, but then on the flip side, we only get Anthony and Kate married and happy for like you said, 9 minutes. So like,
unless they do what everyone wants, and you know, we get a lot more of them in the upcoming seasons.
Yeah, I really hope there is subplot in season 3 and 4 and like whatever seasons they are in, because
I think they deserve
there's so much left unfinished.
I think they deserve it, and I could see some romance readers not liking that because we're very much used to once your book is done, the focus should be on the next one, which fine. But if we focus so much on the Featheringtons, I think we can focus on the Bridgertons instead. The past Bridgertons that have already had their happy ending.
It's called Bridgerton.
Exactly.
It's called Bridgerton for a reason. It's not called Bridgerton / Featherington.
No, I'm really hoping they do not have as much Featheringtons in upcoming season, unless it is Penelope's season, in which case go ahead, you know.
Yeah, this whole like thing with what's his name, Jack Featherington and Portia, that could have been dealt with in Penelope's season. Okay, we don't need that, and that was disgusting.
I think the only thing I liked about that storyline is when Portia tells him, "I am a mother." Like, that line was good.
She remembered she was a mom. Yeah.
Well, no, but she was like, no, I'm a mother. Like, I'm gonna do whatever I need to do to protect my girls, and they are my team. I love that she literally says, I have a team. I have 3 girls that are amazing, and I need to protect them. I am a mother.
She remembers she has 3 girls. I was shocked that she did. Not just 2.
There are different kinds of mothers in the world, and I do think the show shows that.
If it wasn't for this recording for like our podcast, I would have skipped all their scenes, including Penelope's.
Yeah. So
I think they did her a disservice.
Yeah, I didn't like Penelope here. But anyway, we should keep that for next episode. Our whole
we'll talk about
speculations for what might, you know, come next, and etc., etc. So this brings us to the end of episode 4, as well as the end
2 hours and 30
our
minutes.
first episode on this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 2.5 hours later. My voice was dead about an hour in, so apologies for all of your ears.
Up until this point, how did you, I think we already talked about it, but like, it made you want to keep watching, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
100%, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know as for sure.
Yeah.
Episodes 3 and 4 were solid.
Yeah, they were.
I think episode 1 and 2, I was still kind of like unsure, mostly the pacing, because there was so much back and forth between Featheringtons and Bridgertons.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 3 and 4 is when I went, okay, I'm in. Like, I can't stop watching. And like, I cannot, say this enough. If you're having issues with this season, definitely go back and just watch the Bridgerton storylines. It completely holds up by itself because nothing else is influencing their storyline, which proves that it's completely unnecessary. It's separate from everything else. So you can totally just watch that, and you'll see how the pacing is actually pretty good when you just look at the Bridgerton stuff.
I think, when I do my rewatch, because I will be doing a rewatch of the show, this season in particular, I'll do it that way, for sure.
Yeah, highly recommend. So, yeah. Part 2, incoming at some point.
It won't be that long of a wait, don't worry.
Yeah, no. I'll try to, post both, or edit both in record time. So, I hope you enjoyed it. It was a very long episode, but hopefully we had good conversations, and if you have anything you would like to add, let us know. How do you feel about the changes from the book to the series? How did you like the season as a whole? Do you feel the same about the Featheringtons being too much in this season? Anything you would like to tell us, feel free to find us online. You can find us on Twitter at the RTM Pod, as well as on Instagram at Romancing the Monsters Podcast. You can also email us at romancingthemonsterspodcast@gmail.com. TikTok is Romancing the Monsters Pod, and also if you want to find us on YouTube, it's just search Romancing the Monsters Podcast, and you should be able to find us. As always, if you're ever you missed something, everything is in the description. So everywhere you can find us, it's always in the description down below as well. If you're looking for me specifically, I'm on both Twitter and Instagram at Foes and Lovers.
And you can find me as But This Book on both Twitter and Instagram. I might mind went blank.
And you can find me, Seth, on both Instagram and Twitter at Pros with Woes. And also, please feel free to like or subscribe on any of the podcast platforms. That's a lie. You can't like us. Can you like us? You can heart the episodes if you'd like. But you can also leave reviews on Google. No, not Google. It's Spotify and Apple Podcast, right? You can leave us a review and just tell us what you like, what you dislike, if you have any comments, for sure.
Yeah, and don't forget to share the episode if you like it.
Yes.
Please. All right. That's it.
That's it.
We'll see you very soon with part 2.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm sorry. Bye.
So eager to say bye. Okay.